Ladies and gentlemen, and those outside the binary, thank you for joining us for Noise in the Void. Can you smell the crack cooking?
Hell yes!
Sweet. Please welcome to the stage Edwin Callihan, Appalachian Scum King of indie horror.
I've come a long way. We're like 7.5 hours away, drove through the mountains. You guys got way better mountains than we do. Ours are real stinky, so. So everybody, if you want to come closer, come to the stage, whatever. I'm going to read some grimy shit that I wrote. And drink some beer while I do it. This one's called Born Under the Master's Spell. It's from we did a black metal anthology called In the Shadow of the Horns. We got like 7 copies left back there. If you guys want to pick it up, if you like this story, fuck yeah. Alright. 1. Out from the woods, like a drunken idiot, bumbling some bullshit, emerged between 2 towering tree trunks. Cheap beer lingered on my breath, and blood and ash covered my body. Something was funny, but I could not for the life of me remember why I was laughing. Flames licked the horizon before burning out into billows of smoke that drifted behind the trembling trees. Their leafless limbs bristled into the evacuated heavens, starless, inhabited only by the tyranny of the full moon. The painful cries slowly faded from the boughs of the woods as the gateway sealed shut. Fuck 'em. Fuck 'em all. Fuck the wretched world I left behind. I felt no remorse. Strange spells do strange things. Fog settled on the graveyard stretching before me, quiet and dark. And it dropped off blades and grass with gusts of cold wind, cold, biting wind. It was impossible to count all the unmarked graves. Names, birthdays, and heartfelt epitaphs don't mean shit once you're swallowed up by the earth feeding the worms. I guess the cemetery wised up to that. I killed time kicking rocks, breaking twigs, imagining them as brittle bones. The fresh mounds of dirt grew larger, farther out in the fields. Some were big enough to peek over the layer of fog, like miniature mountaintops. My eyelids were heavier than the hammers of Mo. I tried to sleep on a grave, but the putrid scent hit me. My nostrils flared enough to shove a dead Kennedy up them. Probably a dead rat, I assumed. A giant one. Black shapes scuttled beneath the fog, clicking and clacking, accompanied by a wet smacking and sloshing, dancing on the hunk of festering meat. I restrained myself from taking another step. "Who's there?" I asked. The shadows stirred, and I could not make out a human form. They twisted and turned in lumps of darkness. "I'll fucking kill you," I shouted. Silence fell, and I could only hear the squirming sound. A cackle burst through the silence. A faceless audience laughed at me, like I was some dumb fuck comedian. "You think I'm kidding? I'm not afraid to bash your fucking brains in. Do you know who I am?" They didn't. Nobody did. Black forms erupted from the fog, flapping their wings, swirling the fog into a pillar of mist. Cold gusts brushed against my cheeks as I lunged forward. Goddamn vultures. They flew off into an empty sky above. My foot caught something. Face first, I smashed into the ground, caught in its lifeless grasp. That squirming sound louder now. Bits of brain matter, skull fragments, and blood streaming from the massive orifice left the head a thing of nothing more than a smashed watermelon with frizzy tufts of long, black locks. The mandible mangled, an empty eye cavity sunk like rotting craters, and all the worms, slipping and undulating through old holes and new, all the squirming. And the stiff got stinking flesh rot all over my moon-titled shirt. I'm no expert in forensics, but this was definitely not my first encounter with a corpse by a long shot. But judging by all the nightcrawler's shredded flesh and that lovely scent, this wasn't fresh meat. Must have tasted good to those birds, though. Good enough to mutilate them to androgyny. Corpses are never a good sign when you're alone in the dark. That's just instinct. Some quack said the goal of all life is death. They were right. But it wasn't worth scratching my chin over. In fact, I was sick of all the assholes running their mouth about the human condition. Fuck the human condition. Who cares? That's why I got into this type of astral travel. To find a realm more fitting for my oblique perspective. I was too exhausted from the philosophical shit anyways. Even the most advanced sorcerer can be drained of vigor by performing such complex magic formulas. At the edge of the cemetery, a gloomy town awaited. Only vague contours of the buildings were visible in the nightscape. A fantastic castle rose between the tiny town's skyline. Its looming tower was without any identifiable religious symbols, and it was surrounded by hundreds of cones crowning into tall minarets that shimmered in the moonlight. Its arabesque architecture was otherworldly in its mass, such different than the rest of the town's drab design. The sight was hard to focus on as it appeared kinetic, shifting like a Mobius strip, slowly morphing into obscure shapes and angles. Amber twilight twinkled in the tower, and shadows crawled before its glow. God damn, I'd love to burn that fucker down. But I needed to find some food, and some fucking sleep first. Then I could focus on some more majestic animosity. 2. The sign at the entrance named the place not. A subtle phrase marked beneath the namesake read, the perversion of dreams. Whatever the fuck that meant. As I said before, strange spells. A wake of black vultures perched on the sign, and I inquired about the town's inviting slogan. Judging by the silence, they did not embrace newcomers. The wake followed me, a feathered panopticon. Their naked blood-stained necks craned and twisted, observing my every stride upon entering. The vulture with a bulbous, jaundiced eye yapped as I stepped on the main street. They took flight, and I swear I heard them laughing. Not? Like a knot. The correct pronunciation didn't quite click in my head, but I didn't plan on becoming a permanent resident. The moon shined brighter than the flickering streetlights, but I made my way just fine in their dim flare. Abandoned storefronts lined the streets with pitch-black interiors, and the copious shadows created the illusion that they had human-like faces. The windows, like black eyes, reflected what little light there was, and the doorway agape, ready to swallow any intrigued pedestrian. The dilapidation resembled the Eastern Bloc, and the desolation of Chernobyl. Bite it, you scum, was scribbled on the plywood nailed over the meat market, and it smelled worse than the carcass in the cemetery. An out-of-service ATM flashed green light against the gloom of the boarded-up bar with "Destroy Your Life for Satan" tagged across. Damn, I would have killed for a drink. Seemed like my kind of place, too. My footsteps crunched on broken glass in front of the electronics store, old televisions arranged into pyramids that were displayed in a shattered window, scrambling with static and flipping through random channels. Fuzzy screens rapidly switching between images of hardcore porn and snuff films until stopping on a news station. A warped transmission trilled the newscaster's voice, and they were speaking through an industrial fan. They introduced a deformed weather girl with her eyes melting down the bridge of her nose, and the channel spazzed out. What? Don't trust your tired eyes? We are born under the master spell. Her voice slowly dropped pitch, and she winked before the screen lost signal. Hey, pal. A scratchy voice echoed through the streets. Yeah, you. He walked, standing upright down the side of a building, just strolling across the bricks like it was nothing. His shadow shrank close to the sidewalk. The streetlights cast a rich contrast to the face. Inverted black triangles ran from his eyes to his cheek, and at a distance he looked like a clown with white makeup. I didn't see a red nose, but that isn't what makes a clown, is it? I was beginning to think this was a ghost town. Far from it. His wry black lips bent down into a frown. Come over here. I might have something you might be interested in. He seemed harmless. Nothing I couldn't strangle if it came right down to it. Skinny as a shank, he jittered as he reached into the worn-out leather jacket and pulled out a cigarette. The lighter shot a bright orange flame under the mop of long, black, greasy hair. Check these out. He pulled out a collection of Polaroids from inside the tattered lapels of his jacket. What do you think? The white borders fringed something. These things were fucking each other. These oozing flesh cavities in an orgy of madness. Words really can't explain how intriguing yet repulsive it was. Even for a veteran of anti-cosmic mysticism like myself, it was the most filthy of processes. There were people in there too, I think, dismembered and contorted in bestial poses. Giant worms wearing human-faced masks seemed screamed while other abominations copulated. The foulest interpretations of Picasso's Guernica. Of course, with all my mind fracturing trips, days spent devouring sheets of bad acid, I'd never seen anything this maddening. I had to swallow the vial from my empty stomach in a loud gulp, but I couldn't stop looking. You alright? The smile flashed, bleeding gingivitis. I nodded. The white space in the bottom of each Polaroid had different names and dates. Beware Oystein 81093, Appeline Air 4891, K and Bard 82192. Well, this is what you're looking for, right? It's why you're here. I got him for the load. His grease paint crusted brow cocked up. How about a cigarette first? He chuckled, then pulled out a cigarette from the pack. I know what you want. Yeah, what's that? A cheeseburger and a hand job? I hit the cigarette and exhaled a cloud of smoke. From the leather jacket, he produced a little flask and shook it. Talk about hospitality. I took a big swig and stuck a couple more while he searched through his jacket some. He tossed out various knickknacks like broken glass and teeth onto the sidewalk. Aha! Here it is. The crumpled wad peeled into a rectangle on his hands, and he handed me the photocopied piece of paper. A list of illegible scribbles scrolled down the side with smaller print on the bottom. I couldn't help but notice the blurry image on the text. It was another one of those repulsive Polaroids with blown up in size. What's this? I asked. It's a show. What kind of show? Like the one of those pictures. But the real thing. A bazaar of the most extreme melodies. I'm gonna have to pass right now. I'm starving and need a place to crash. Don't be a pussy. I can tell by looking at you that you dabble in some horrible things, right? This is right up your alley. Everything you've been looking for. Don't you really want to say, fuck the universe? He was right. And I'm proud of it. I do it again and again and again. Who you calling pussy? The lapels of a jacket gripped in my hands. I pulled the pale face to mine. He grinned like a grimy gutter with the mouth of a great white shark and the breath of a dead dragon. Ever heard of the last command of Mo? The gala of the black sails? Do you know who the fuck I am? Easy, partner. He cut me off and dusted off the lapels. I got you, but I'm talking extreme. His arms spread as far as I could reach. Nothing I ain't done before. Well, you need to go to this show. Some great headliners have traveled great lengths to play for us. It's like jacking off to the porno pages and getting some real pussy. A lot better than the photos. This is the real thing. And it's going to be packed. Funny. I don't see anyone anywhere. Funny. He started to laugh. And choked, taking a drag of the smoke. Hey, check out our books back there, guys. Give it up to everybody that's about to read. But yeah, thanks for coming out.